Hi, Emily Sellis here. I am so happy to introduce Nicholas Quartarone. He's going to talk to you today all about the Eastern religion of Taoism and how to cultivate your own energy and protect it. Stay tuned. SAGE is a 501c3 nonprofit organization building community by providing education and counseling about physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. We encourage all of our listeners to find their own path to what holistic wellness means to you. Hi there, and welcome to another episode of Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center show. Today I have Nicholas Quartarone with me. Thank you so much for being here, Nicholas.
Thank you.
So Nicholas is a Taoist disciple, and he's been practicing Taoism for a very long time. And today we are so lucky to have him come here and share with us some of the wonderful facets and tenets of Taoism and energy cultivation. So if you can just take a minute, Nicholas, to introduce yourself and kind of how you got into Taoism, and
Sure.
just tell us a little bit more about that.
So I'm in a Taoist lineage for the past 3 years, part of the lineage of the Temple of Celestial Cloud, which is a diocese of Longhushan Orthodox Taoism in China. So it's basically, I categorize it as like the American branch of a Taoist lineage. But I've been studying Taoism for many years on my own, but in 2015 is when I actually got into the lineage and started to practice Taoism as what we call a closed door training. So
Okay.
yeah.
So it sounds like it really took it to another level.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You really dialed it down and got involved.
Yep. And basically we what I'm learning as a disciple is basically practice to become a priest. All the closed door training, so involves basically a lot of it sounds a little silly to some people, but magical practice, mystical practice.
Like
it's
metaphysical, do you mean?
metaphysical,
kind of,
literally magic, or Taoist, or mysticism.
Mysticism.
This
Okay.
is mysticism, working with energy within the body, around the body, and working with the other elements in the environment, with other people, to bring harmony, basically, for everyone, for everything. That's my job.
So so working with, I'm hearing in the environment a lot of different things, but the focus is working with individuals within the environment?
Predominantly, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Balancing, because there is a lot going on underneath the skin of every person, not just physically, but energetically and spiritually. So it's helping people to get in touch with these different parts of them and bring it back so they're whole. Because when we get sick, when we have problems with a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, whatever, we basically we separate in ourselves. And when that happens, it's almost like we compartmentalize and we lose touch with who we are. And when we do that, everything just kind of falls apart within us, and then we will develop sickness, stress, ailments, all kinds of problems occur. And then obviously when you have problems, then it branches out and affects your family, affects your friends, affects your job, affects everything that you do. So when it comes to practice and cultivation, it's all about getting in touch with who you truly are, your purpose and your intentions with the purpose that you have. So when you have that, it's your starting point, and then you have something to base off of in terms of who you really are and what you're going to do with what you have, your talents, your abilities, and you work from there. So basically working from the inside out.
Gosh, I think that's awesome. I mean, that's kind of the question, one of the main questions that we all have is, who are we and what are we doing here? And it sounds like what you're studying aims to specifically answer those questions.
Exactly.
And put them into practice.
So what I tell people too, it's like, I'm not reinventing the wheel. This is Eastern medicine their roots are in Taoism. So basically, Taoism is the folk religion of China, and its origins trace back to the beginning. I mean, before China was China. It has shamanistic origins, roots in acupuncture, acupressure, feng shui, qigong, meditation, tai chi, all the martial arts, kung fu. That's all Taoist in origin. A lot of people don't know that because it's been adopted in different schools and different traditions and throughout the world for their own practices, because the concept of the Tao is kind of universal, but its origins are in China. And the yin-yang symbol, which in our culture, Western culture, also adopts very frequently because it looks very cool, and you'll see it on posters, you'll see it on bumper stickers and whatnot. But that image is telling you that's the way of the universe. That's the way of the universe, as above, so below, literally and like within your body. So it's depicting how things really are.
I have to ask, I mean, I just think this is such a beautiful thing that you've come to, and I'm curious if you don't mind sharing with us how you came to it.
No.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It sounds awesome.
Because I'm from Boston, Massachusetts, and raised Roman Catholic, full-blooded Italian, so yeah, there was no such thing as Taoism where I came from.
Right.
But I just was very intuitive as a child, and I just felt things differently. A lot of what I was taught and what I experienced through schooling and through my parents, there was a lot of gray area that couldn't be answered for the experiences that I was having. Some supernatural, and I was like, it's one or the other. It's either I'm crazy, or there's something to this. So, literally around the time I started high school, I started reading books on supernatural things and metaphysics and whatnot. But what resonated with me was Eastern spirituality and Eastern religion. And then I came across Taoism, and then I started reading books on it, and I was like, oh my God, what I'm experiencing, I'm reading this. I'm reading it.
Wow.
And I was like, how does that doesn't equate at all. But for some reason, I get it. Like I got it on such a deeper level. And then I'd have friends and like freshmen in high school, like, yeah, dude, you gotta check this out. And they're like, oh yeah, that's interesting. But they didn't get it. I was getting it at such a profound level.
Yeah.
But I look back and I know why I get it. But when I was younger, I was like, I don't understand why this guy, that person can't see it when I'm seeing, experiencing. And what it was is because the experiences that I had at such a young age that made me connect and kind of like read between the lines, that it just spoke to me on such a deeper level and it affected me. And as I got older, I basically, it just snowballed from there.
So more and more time was spent kind of poring over these books, like connecting with this part of yourself.
So basically through high school, I was like reading everything I could get my hands on it.
Not your typical high school experience.
So during like my study periods, I remember supposed to be working on, homework assignments and whatnot, and here I am studying Taoist classics. Like it was really
great.
That's just
great.
me.
But that you're following, I mean, you were just connected and had
That's
that
it.
strong
I
pull.
I couldn't I couldn't even explain it. But I was just so in love with it, and it resonated with me on such a deep level. And the weirdest thing is that at that point I couldn't even talk about it because I didn't know how to. I tried, but it was hard to intellectualize it.
Sure.
So basically, by the time I was in college, I went to Berklee College of Music. I studied music. Music was the only thing that I could really connect at that point in my life with connecting with a deeper this energy within.
Yeah.
Music was my
Makes
way
sense.
of connecting with that. I'm a drummer, by the way. I went to Berklee College of Music in Boston, and when I was living in Boston and going to school, that's when things started to shift and upgrade tremendously. I started to, it was like, okay, I'm learning a lot of this stuff, it's intellectual, but I want more of an experience. So I started to try some techniques. And basically those techniques transformed where I started to be in control of the phenomenon around me. So it wasn't like I was just an observer, or I was like, oh, that's happening and this is happening. I learned techniques where I was in control. And once that happened, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. And then again, it was an upgrade. And then that snowballed even more. And from that point forward, and I was about 21 years old, 22 years old, it just, I just kept doing more and learning more. And anything that I could get my hands on in terms of studying, working with teachers, practices, meditations, anything Taoist related, and just learning about metaphysics and the supernatural in general, I was just like more and more and more. And and then I really fell in love with Qigong, which is basically moving energy in the body, manipulating energy within your body. So when I tell people, what's Qigong? So I said, you're moving energy within yourself. But I'm like, energy? What do you mean energy? So I put it in a way like, do you believe you have a soul? And like, yeah, okay, well, we have something to work with then. Because that means that what you're doing is you're activating your soul, and you're using that life force, and you're regenerating that life force. So it's like recharging your battery. And when you recharge your battery, just like exercising in general for your physical body, you feel great. It's really good for you. It's great for your health and your well-being. And obviously there's, being an energetical thing, there's the spiritual component. So there's different levels to it. So when I started studying Qigong and I practiced more and in depth, that it just took me to different levels. Because I was always energetically sensitive as a child, but all I needed was just a little push, and then boom, I would fly
you
away
some
sometimes.
guidance for a moment to get you to the next place.
Right. And Qigong did that a lot for me. And then, of course, doing a lot of meditation. Doing a lot of meditation, studying a lot of different techniques, and and then just one thing leads to another. Eventually I end up moving out here, California, and I find the Temple of Celestial Cloud, which is based out of Monterey, California. Which is a lineage from Dr. Jerry Allen Johnson. And I now work with, he's the senior abbot of the lineage, and I work directly with Dr. Laura Johnson, who is an abbot, Taoist abbot, and I study under her.
That's neat.
But yeah, and then this fall, 2019, I'm going back to China to be ordained as a Taoist priest.
Wow,
so,
that sounds like a big step.
It's a huge step.
Really
it really is. But a lot of, when they think priest, though, they associate it with in our culture, like Catholic priest. It's a different animal.
Yeah.
For sure. We can marry, have children, the whole bit. But I will say, different sects in all religions and faiths and practices have different rules and regulations. But this is, it's pretty open, we'll say.
Right, as far as what you're capable of doing. I mean, what I'm hearing is that it's kind of a showing a different level of commitment. Yeah. Like it's not, the disciple is already a level of commitment, and then becoming a priest in Taoism is even more of a commitment to
that's
to
what
the
it
teachings.
Is. And technically that means that I can open up my own temple, and I can start my own lineage. I can start my own and have disciples of my own, and offer closed door training as well. So,
is that something you're wanting to bring to California?
That is a goal for sure. Southern California could use some of that for sure.
Absolutely.
Good energy.
Yeah. Well, and here we are talking with you before you take this big step. I mean, we definitely support you on that journey, and would love to hear from you when you get back on how that experience was.
Absolutely.
So with Qigong, I'm curious about that. I know you and I had spoken about possibly having you offer, a free class, a Qigong class to our people, and would love to talk about getting that going. I'm just wondering if you could maybe share a little bit, a snippet, not give it all away, but about how you make that energy move around in your body, or kind of what people might be curious to learn more about by coming to a class like that?
Well, one of the most fundamental things about it is how simple it is. And it's all about the breath. It's all about the breath, because the breath is the connection between the mind and the body. And that's that medium, that communication. So when you can breathe and focus your breathing, it does tremendous things. Just besides just just regular breathing. I mean, deep breathing, focused breathing. Where in Qigong, there's the technique of the breathing, of deep breathing. So it's the mind-body connection that gets you to a different place. It's working with the nervous system a lot. It's the in scientific terms, it's like they call it like sympathetic to parasympathetic, where you're telling the nervous system to relax. And when you relax, when your brain tells your body to relax, your body relaxes. So we do this all the time in normal activity, where we're about to get into our car to drive because we got a long day ahead of us. The first thing we do is we take a deep breath. Okay, I'm going to drive. And we go about our business. Or we have something big to do. We about to give a speech or something big. You usually take a deep breath. It's that breath that is the communication between the brain and the body to relax now. Everything's going to be okay. So Qigong is working with your physical self, your energetical self to move. It's a holistic practice where it combines gentle movement, deep breathing, and a focused mind. And fundamentally, if you got those three, the rest is easy. Because that's the hardest part. Is just the focus. It's not so acrobatic or anything like that. People think, oh, I can't do this because I'm not flexible. They think it's yoga or Tai Chi. That's a little different. This is more internal. This is more of a moving meditation.
Okay.
So moving meditation would be the best way to describe it.
So you're kind of focusing internally, and then you're doing deep breathing. So you're moving your physical body while you're doing it, or are you sitting
gently
down?
Yeah. So it's Qigong. It's specifically, where do you want to direct the energy? Why do you want to direct it there? So you're working with major parts of the body, specifically major organs in the body, like the kidneys, the liver, the heart, because it ties into a lot of Eastern medicine. So we're basically tonifying and purging the body to strengthen parts of our body and to release toxins or bad energy, working energy. But you'll through the movement you'll feel it too. So it's not just something in the mind. I mean, through the movement, through the breath, you'll feel the relief.
The release,
instantly. It's not just I'm telling you to do something and you do it and it's like, oh yeah, okay. No, it's like you'll feel it, you'll know it.
Yeah.
And that's why I encourage everybody to do it, is because you'll know it. You don't have to get too technical about it.
Yeah, I think having experiences is really great. I think our society causes us to be very cognitive and just in our heads a lot. And so to be able to get somewhere where you can give yourself an experience and then feel the relief, like you said.
Yeah, so I've learned early on when doing this stuff, when I wanted to teach, it's like in our culture, you're teaching to people that are very much intellectual and they want to know how things work. And so I had to do my homework to make sure. So it's like, when I say do this, it's gonna feel really good, but I explained that how that's affecting the body.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like that.
To be able to connect the two,
yes.
the mind,
my body and what's going on, energetically, physically, even spiritually.
Yeah.
Times.
Gosh, that sounds really awesome. I know with breathing, that comes up a lot for me. I work with clients, as a therapist, and anxiety is just something that everybody deals with.
Yep.
Right? And I know that's something I've taught to my clients a lot, is to just pay attention to the breathing that's happening or that's not happening. Because oftentimes in anxious situations, we'll even hold our breath. Yeah. And we won't be getting that life energy, the life force energy coming through us.
So it's like the fight or flight response that we have. And when you take that deep breath, it's like you're telling your body it's okay. You're not going to check out. Because when you panic, whatever the stressful situation is, the first thing you do when you panic is you want to get out. You check out. But when you take a deep breath, it's your brain telling your body it's okay. Don't go anywhere. It's going to be okay. That simple deep breath, long, simple deep breath, that's all it takes to shift everything. And it starts from there. And it ends from there too. So.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that and going into that in more
No
detail. I would love to hear you talk a little bit more about these energy cultivation classes that you teach, because I know you were mentioning that you have those in 3 different tiers, is it?
Yeah, 3 levels. Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically what it is, it's a course, I call them courses, whatever. Level 1, level 2, level 3. To strengthen and protect oneself energetically, spiritually, and even physically. I work with a lot of people that are gifted in that sense, where they're psychic mediums, they're empaths, they're very gifted. But a lot of people that have these abilities don't know how they don't understand, as what I term like the sacred science. Now, it's not like they need to know a whole course on what's going on and their experiences, but to understand that how, when you're doing what you're doing and you're connecting to a higher level of consciousness, how that affects you biologically, how that affects you emotionally, and why if you're going to do these things, you should be protected, you should be strong, because a lot of people that are doing laying of the hands, they get drained, or whatever type of healing or that they're performing, they get drained very easily because they're giving something themselves in order to do the work that they can for other people. So as much as they're giving away, or helping, they're taking away from them, they're getting depleted. So it should be balanced. So I work with a lot of people to strengthen themselves so that they can keep doing what they're doing and not have any side effects. And also too, in just when you're like in Starbucks, you know, you're in line in Starbucks and you're energetically sensitive, and you can feel the person in front of you in line, the person behind you, and the whole room. If you're that sensitive, you want to be able to, again, remain calm. And as simple as that is for a lot of normal people, it's really not for people that are energetically sensitive, because we feel things and hear things and see things and like times 10. So it can be really difficult to function under normal circumstances. So when you learn certain techniques to protect yourself, and you feeling those bad vibes or whatever, the energies from other people or from the environment, you can control and not only help yourself, but you'll help other people.
How so? What do you mean by that?
Is that because the thing is, it's like you're putting people at ease. So it's kind of like, I joke, it's like a Jedi mind trick, where you without being dramatic or even saying anything, it's internal. You're shifting the collective consciousness through your consciousness.
That makes sense.
The difference is the reason why it works is because you're being like a sorcerer, meaning that you're grabbing from source, soul energy from the divine, and you're focusing that into the room or particular people. And therefore it's the Jedi mind trick, and you're affecting them, and they will not even consciously be aware of it. It'll affect them subconsciously, but it'll put them at ease, and now the person that was agitated in front of you in Starbucks is no longer agitated.
So
or
for the higher good, of course.
You'll notice too, the people that surround you, it's like attracts like. You'll either come closer to each other or you separate. So if something's bothering you, it's like you don't have to do much, and people will naturally just go away from each other.
The stuff that you're trying to avoid.
Just so it's an intuitive thing. It's interesting. I tell people, pay attention to when you go to social events or anywhere, and the people that come around you, and the people that are not around you. Notice the difference. If you don't like what's around you, you can actually control and shift that if you really want to, for the better. Not to manipulate or anything, but to produce more harmony. And a real life situation is like being in a store where you have a customer that's really upset, and you just want to check out. So you want to speed up the process to make it more harmonious for everybody. You can do that. You can do that. It's not so complicated.
Does it work for traffic too?
Absolutely. Road rage.
Yeah, road ragers.
Rage, you know?
Oh, no,
So,
that's great. So that's
yeah.
all talked about in your first level that you do in
Yeah,
that
yeah.
course.
It starts from there.
And then the second and third levels are just a more practice, more in depth.
It's just more in depth, and we in the Taoist system, the concept is we build ourselves up like a pyramid.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so think of like a building where in order to be a building to be strong, you need a very strong foundation. So that foundation is here, your core,
Mm-hmm.
and then we work our way up. So we have 3 major energy centers that we recognize and work with in the Taoist system,
Mm-hmm.
and they're called dantians. Just basically translates to energy centers. And you have your lower dantian, your middle dantian, and your upper dantian. So basically the lower ones, it's more working with more physical energy,
Mm-hmm.
Environmental energy. The second one, it's more like emotional energy, we'll say, and it's like working within different fields of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then up here, it's more mental energy, and working with more mental aspect of it. So like physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, we'll say,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks
yeah.
for explaining that. I mean,
Yeah, I don't want to get too complicated.
But it sounds like those are the things that you go into in the class, and it all makes sense, and you pull all these different
because it's
together.
like it's worth it if this you're like, oh, I want to learn more about it, then take a class, and try it out, and if you have an experience, you're like, oh wow, that works.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to have something to go off of. You need to have the experience, because I can talk about this forever, but if you don't have an experience, at the end of the day, you're just gonna be like, oh, that's nice, but I don't know, it's kind of weird.
Like, does this work for me?
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't know.
Specifically to the very skeptic Western mind, you know, it's I say just have an experience and that's it, and leave the rest.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
talk after.
Right. But when you have an experience, then that's
changes
what
everything.
you can
Shifts.
know. I mean, you know your own experience. It doesn't have to be you telling me this is what happens.
Right, because that means that when I start talking about, you're like, I get it.
Right.
Now I know what you're talking about,
There's
Nick.
that connection.
You know, as opposed to me just talking. Like, sounds interesting, but I have no idea what you're talking about, because I don't know how to relate to that. So having the experience gives you the opportunity to relate to what I'm talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so I think a good first step for someone would be to come to your Qigong class that we're going to do, and then be able to get to meet you and have an experience like that, and then ask some more questions if needed, and if you're interested to do that.
Yes.
So, do you want to tell people where they can contact you or how they can get in touch with you?
Yes. Well, my website is evolvenow.community. Also, I have a Facebook page, Evolve Now. Instagram, Evolve Now. So, and if you go to my website, I have all links to classes, courses. I have a workshop coming up soon.
Oh, awesome.
On March 9th at Bodhi Studios in Anaheim, 10 to 11. And basically, we're going to be covering pretty much what we talked about here. We're going to give a quick little talk about energy and Taoism, my origins, and then we're going to get right into doing some Qigong, meditation, and playing with some energy. So this way people can get a taste and an experience of what it is we're talking about.
Yeah. And is there a cost to that at Bodhi?
It's $25.
Okay.
And I did create an event through Eventbrite.
Okay.
So you can purchase tickets
through your website.
Through the website. Yeah.
Awesome.
Also too, I created something on Meetup. So if you go to meetup.com, you can you find me. It'll be a link for that too, so you can get tickets that way.
And I will include all of that in our show notes, so
cool.
You can take a look at our show notes. So, are there any last words of wisdom or things that you would like to leave with anybody who might be listening to this?
I encourage people to try to. A lot of people are on the fence that I come in contact with that are they have, it's almost like I was like, yeah, years ago I thought about doing this, but they had their fears and their doubts from whatever walk of life. I mean, I came from a background where I grew up where there was no such thing as Taoism. All this stuff I'm doing is all woo woo out there, and but what kept me going was my experience. It wasn't an intellectual pursuit.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like I met some guru or anything. No, I had an experience, and that fire inside, those feelings inside, motivated me to keep going, to seek out teachers, to seek out information
Mm-hmm.
and resources to go further. So if anything, I encourage everybody to do the same. Have your experience, go from there. Start from within, that passion, that drive, whatever it is, and then work your way out from there, as opposed to trying to find yourself through something outside of yourself.
Yeah.
It's counterproductive in a lot of ways.
And I think what stuck out from what you said to me earlier was that it started out with experiences happening to you that you couldn't explain.
Right, yeah.
And then what happened through your transformation of learning all of this was that you got to be in charge of what experiences were happening to you.
Right, exactly.
Or, I'm sorry, you got to be in charge of the experiences that were happening instead of them happening to you.
Right, so I'm not just the observer like, oh, wow, this is really cool.
Yes.
It's like, I can actually kind of be more of the conductor of this. And actually, what's happening around me is a reflection of what's going on in me.
Yeah.
And that's a whole other conversation.
Right.
But that's a very interesting point that I encourage people to seek out. Like, how can I do that? How can I change my reality through what's going on within me? So.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here with us today and teaching us all about energy cultivation and how to get to a better balanced life. So we look forward to having you at our center. All right.
Absolutely. Great.
Thanks, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Thank you for spending some of your time today with us at Sage Holistic Health and Wellness Center. If you like what we're all about, please consider supporting our nonprofit organization by making a tax-deductible donation. To do this, you can go to our website at www.sagewellnessctr.org and click on Donate in the upper right-hand corner. We look forward to spending some time again with you real soon. Take good care.